Hi there, students. I'm XS. That's little x, little s, which stands for extra sweet, because that's what I am. How's your week going? I hope you're enjoying these last days of summer. Pretty soon it will be autumn, and I'm pretty excited for that. I love the sound of crunching leaves under my feet. I would use zaku zaku to describe that in Japanese. Ochiba ga zaku zaku shimasu. The fallen leaves go crunch crunch. I love that sound. How are you feeling about the seasons changing? Are you looking forward to fall or winter? Or are you already missing the heat of summer? Today will be our first vocabulary lesson. We've covered hiragana, katakana, and just a tiny bit of kanji, and last week we had our first grammar lesson. Today we will be focusing on vocabulary specifically. The phrases I'll be teaching you today should be excellent tools that will help you maintain casual and friendly conversation in Japan. I think this actually is a pretty important lesson, so if you were going to watch one of my lessons more than once, I would probably recommend that it be this one for now. I'm going to cover a lot of important details and cultural notes that will really be helpful to you. As always, throw me a like and subscribe so that you always know when my new lessons are coming out or when I'm dropping the new word of the day, which is every day. Oh, and definitely never hesitate to let me know if you have questions or anything like that. I'm here for you. So, let's get into it. Ikimashou! Alright, class, let's start today's lesson. This word is tango. Careful, it's not tango, it's tango. This is Japanese class. Dance class is down the hall to the left. Tango means vocabulary. These are relatively easy kanji and very helpful. The one on the left, the tan, is tan from kantan, which is a word meaning simple. By itself, this tan means one, merely, or easy. And then the kanji on the right, the go from tango, means word. So tango, one word, easy word, vocabulary. This next word, not so simple. These are much more complex kanji, and you wouldn't ordinarily memorize them until much further down the line in your studies. I want you to know the word, not necessarily the kanji. Anyway, this word is Aisatsu. And Aisatsu is a word meaning greetings. Aisatsu tend to be set phrases that are used basically every day in Japanese. Timely greetings, words of thankfulness, convenience, apology, that kind of thing. Okay, so the first very important phrase that we're going to learn today is hajimemashite. It's a word that means nice to meet you in Japanese, at least sort of. It means something like, this is the first time that we are meeting. It's part of a longer phrase that, well, no, actually that's not right. It's part one of a two-part phrase. See, ordinarily when you meet someone for the first time in Japan, you would say, hajimemashite, and then you would give some details about yourself. My name is this, I study at this school, I have this or that job, my hobbies or whatever. And then you would close out that whole introduction with another phrase that we're going to learn later today. I'm going to do a whole future video on that process, which is called jiko shokai, or self-introduction. Sometimes you see hajimemashite written in just hiragana, but you may occasionally also see it written in kanji like this. Remember me saying that kanji are usually used for the base form of verbs? Well, that's what's happening here. This kanji specifically means something like to start, to begin, something like that. On its own, it's hatsu, just like hatsune miku. The next greeting that I'm going to teach you today is ohayou gozaimasu. That, of course, means good morning. Japanese isn't all that strict about timely greetings. Ohayou gozaimasu is usually used as kind of a beginning of day type greeting up until around 10 a.m. It technically means more like it's early rather than it's morning. Also, this is an important culture note, just something to keep in mind, but in Japanese, timely greetings do not necessarily open the door for conversation. If you're an English speaker, Well, in English, we tend to use good morning as the start of a longer conversation. In essence, like person one says, good morning. Person two says, good morning. And then person one continues the conversation by saying something like, how are you? Or how's your family? Or I need something from you. Or those gardenias on your lawn are looking very heckin' wilty, Sharon. Or, whatever it is that adult humans say. But in Japanese, ohayo gozaimasu doesn't necessarily carry the weight of a conversation starter. It's more common for ohayo gozaimasu to just be kind of like a passing greeting, sort of the way that we might use sup when passing someone in the hallway. That's not a definite rule or anything, but I think it's something to be culturally aware of. By the way, ohayo gozaimasu is actually polite speech. It shows respect for the person that you're talking to, and it should be used with teachers, superiors, anyone that you're subordinate to. So like everyone in my case. For your friends and buddies, you can simply use ohayo. In fact, formal language can actually have kind of a chilling or a distancing effect in Japanese. Ohayo gozaimasu may feel too stiff to your friends and make them feel like you're not relaxed with them. Navigating this stuff can be really tricky in Japanese culture, so I'm always going to do my best to help you understand what I've learned based on what I know about using this language with others. Oh, also, in addition to levels of formality in Japanese, there's also kind of distinctions of gender between words. So some words are used more commonly by men, some words are used more commonly by women. That actually is probably one of my academic specializations in terms of Japanese. I love gendered language, and I've studied it a lot. I've studied it in a couple different languages now, but I think Japanese gendered language is sort of like my passion. So it's something that I'm going to be covering in a future video as well. Today, I'm going to teach you just one gendered term, and that's os. Remember I said that Japanese really likes to truncate things to make them kind of small when possible? Well, os is the o from Ohayo with the su from gozaimasu. You've just massively pushed together those words and you're only left with os. It definitely has a masculine vibe. It's not something that I would normally say, and it's also extremely casual. So it's definitely not something that you would use for people in positions of authority or anything like that. But I think men use it, commonly, especially like teen boys will definitely say os. And that's not to say that women can't use it or that women don't use it, but I don't use it. But I tend to think that my Japanese is a little bit more feminine. Anyway, ohayo gozaimasu is always written in hiragana, but technically there is a little hidden kanji here. That kanji means early or sometimes fast. Another quick culture note, a lot of Aisatsu can be written with kanji, but they really almost never are. Japanese is friendly that way. I think when there's a phrase that we use like all the time, really, really frequently, it'll be written in hiragana because kind of why not? Plus, I think that's really helpful for the kiddos who maybe haven't learned kanji yet. Okay, so once it's later than around 10 a.m., you really wouldn't use ohayo anymore. You would start using konnichiwa. Konnichiwa means good day, or really just hello. And you'll use it from around 10 a.m. until around the time that it's dark outside. I really want to highlight that wa. It's wa, not ha. That's because this wa is being used as a particle, as we discussed recently. It's just that the rest of the sentence has kind of been left off. So it's like konnichiwa, nani nani nani, something after. But really, we're just going to say konnichiwa. The important thing to remember is that it's written like this and it's pronounced wa. Again, technically there are kanji in konnichiwa and they look like this. It's basically the kanji for now and the kanji for day. So konnichiwa could be thought of as a phrase that means something like it's now day. But like I said, konnichiwa will never be written in kanji, So I'm really only showing you these kanji so that you can understand the meaning of the word. After dark, you would use konbanwa. Konbanwa means good evening, but it's a meeting phrase and not a parting phrase. In English, you can use good evening to say goodbye to someone, like, oh, we had a good time, good evening. But really, in Japanese, konbanwa just means hello, but you only use it at night. Also, there are kanji here as well, but in this case, it's going to be like the same kon from konnichiwa, that means now, and then that second kanji is ban, which means evening. So again, same thing. Kon ban wa, it's now evening, right? So that would be the meaning of the phrase konbanwa. If you've been on my Twitch streams, you've probably heard me say konbanwan, which is kind of my cutesy way of saying good evening, bark. We've learned 3 ways of saying hi so far, depending on whether it's morning, day, or evening. But we haven't learned any ways to say goodbye yet. Well, the first of these that we will learn is oyasumi nasai. It means good night. You can also kind of casually just say oyasumi if you're just with friends and family. But the full phrase would be oyasumi nasai, which really means please have a good rest. I tend to say it to my family in kind of like a sing-song voice, like oyasumi. Again, there are hidden kanji here, or at least there's one hidden kanji here. And in this case, this kanji means rest, a vacation, or time off. Now, I want to talk to you about the term sayonara. Have you maybe learned that sayonara means goodbye in Japanese? Well, I totally disagree with that. Sayonara is a pretty serious term in Japanese. You use it for partings with people when you know that you're not going to see them again for quite a while, even if ever. You wouldn't use it for something like an end of the day parting because it gives off the implication of goodbye. We might never see one another again. It's like edgelord speech. The kanji in sayonara are almost never used, but the meaning here is like, if it must be this way, or if it must be so. It's almost like a lament about how unfair it is that we have to part from one another. So, how would you say goodbye when it isn't a life-altering, super dramatic moment? Ordinarily, we would say, ja, mata ne, or just mata ne. The ja part means kind of like, well then, and then mata means later. And ne is, well, ne is complicated. We'll talk about that in a future video, but yeah, mata ne just really means see you later. You can also use that mata in some other really useful constructions. So, mata ashita means until tomorrow, or I'll see you tomorrow. And then mata raishu means I'll see you next week. Basically, mata plus any time phrase means until that whatever time. Here is another really common and really useful phrase. O genki desu ka? You use this phrase to ask someone how they're doing. The genki part means like health, comfort, or happiness. If I'm feeling genki, it means that I have good energy, that I'm feeling okay, that I'm ready to take on the world, that I could take on the whole empire just by myself. When someone asks you, O genki desu ka? You would answer, genki desu. You would never, ever, ever say, O genki desu. Why not? Well, the O in O genki desu ka is honorific. It's used to make certain words sound more polite or to be more respectful. We actually saw it earlier in oyasumi nasai. So in oyasumi nasai, you're saying please have an honorable rest, right? I'm extrapolating a little bit, but that's basically what it means, right? That O is kind of giving some deference to the person that you're talking to, making them feel a little bit more respected. And then in turn, you're being a little bit more humble by making them feel good about themselves, right? You would not use that O for yourself or for your own situations. If you do that, if you use that "ol" for yourself, it kind of sounds like really, really arrogant, like you're kind of putting yourself in the position of being like an emperor or an empress. Anyway, let's move on. Okie dokie. So the next word that we're going to learn is sumimasen. And what does sumimasen mean? Okay. Oh. 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 Huh. Yeah. Sumimasen has a lot of meanings. The point that I want to make is that sumimasen is really versatile, but it can mean a ton of different things depending on the context. Remember when I told you that Japanese is a language that depends very, very heavily on the context of what we say? Sumimasen is a really great example of that, right? You can use it in lots of different situations, and it's not going to mean just one thing. It's going to mean something based on the different situation that you use it in. So let's look at some really specific examples of places where we might use sumimasen. First, you could use it for a really sincere apology, right? You're usually also going to need to bow when you say that because you did something wrong and you feel bad about it, and so you say, sumimasen. You'll usually say it just like that too. Sumimasen. I really screwed up. You can also use sumimasen to grab someone's attention, like, sumimasen! It's kind of the same way that we would say, hey, I'm over here. In addition to like a real apology, I really often hear sumimasen in situations of mild inconvenience. Like you bumped into somebody, or you need to get around someone, or you lightly nudged them, or maybe your stuff was on a seat and you moved the seat so that somebody could sit. Really, anything like that. And then you can also use sumimasen to say goodbye, particularly if you're like trying to quietly slip out. Sumimasen, I need to leave. I often hear that kind of whispered with a tiny itty bitty bow as someone is leaving a meeting or something like that. Okay, there are just a couple more phrases that I want to cover. Gomen nasai can be used for I'm sorry. It's more severe than sumimasen. You use it when you like really have screwed something up. Like it's definitely your fault and you feel really bad about it. And so in that case, you would say gomen nasai. Well, okay, if we can now say I'm sorry, then I guess we should learn how to say thank you, right? So let's learn arigato gozai, arigato, arigato, uh, uh, arigato. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I think I glitched. We were talking about the Japanese concept of thanking someone. It's it's really complicated. Thanking people can be a really difficult task in Japanese. At the most casual, we simply say arigato, and that just kind of means thanks, right? But there are some levels of politeness that are really important for Japanese. Basic level, arigato, thanks, very casual. And then the next level would be arigato gozaimasu, which means thank you. And that sounds more polite and respectful. Then you can also say arigato gozaimashita. And that's actually past tense and it carries the implication of thank you for what you have done for me. So I tend to use arigato gozaimashita when something has already been completed. So there's kind of a distinction where I would say, can you please take care of this? Arigato gozaimasu. So thank you that you are going to take care of it. Versus you've already done it. Maybe you brought me a present, and I'm very happy about that. And so I say arigato gozaimashita. Past tense, thank you for what you did for me. And that's also very polite. And then there's another really handy phrase, arigatai desu, which means I would really appreciate it. In addition to learning how to say thank you, we should learn how to say you're welcome. You're welcome in Japanese is doitashimashite. Doitashimashite. I teach a lot of my students sometimes that do itashimashite kind of sounds like don't touch my mustache. And that's how some of my students like to remember it. Do itashimashite, don't touch my mustache. I don't know, it's kind of cutesy, but yeah, whatever. Okay, we are nearly done. Last term that I want to teach you is yoroshiku. Remember at the beginning of the lesson I taught you hajimemashite? That's the front half of nice to meet you. The back half of nice to meet you is yoroshiku. Again, I'm going to do a whole lesson on this, but yoroshiku has levels of respect that you should be really be careful for. So, yoroshiku is super basic, really casual, really friendly, and it's just kind of like used when you maybe meet somebody that's your friend and they're on the same social level than you. Slightly more respectful is yoroshiku onegaishimasu. So that's a mouthful, but it's yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And that's a bit more respectful. And then even more respectful than that is dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. So we've added dozo to the front there, which is another handy word that I'll talk about in a future lesson. But dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu, more respectful. And then extremely respectful, and honestly what I usually use is the phrase dozo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. Dozo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. So that's the most kind of respectful way to use this phrase. Dozo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. And that kind of, it really means like, please take care of me. It's like we're meeting for the very first time, we've met, and please take care of me. Please treat me with care. And that phrase, yoroshiku onegaishimasu, is something that you can also use kind of like, I'm going to leave something in your care. I'm going to ask you to take care of something. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Please do it with care, if you will. So, okay. Well, I really hope that these phrases have been helpful for you. I hope you're not feeling too overwhelmed. I threw a lot at you today, but I think these are really good phrases and really helpful. And I think that they'll propel your Japanese forward. So, let's test your knowledge really quickly. We'll do a quick quiz and no stress, okay? Here we go. All right, quiz time. So, because we worked on Aisatsu today, what I want to do for today's quiz is I'm going to give you some English phrases, and then I would like you to repeat those phrases back to me in Japanese. So I'm giving you the English, and then you give me the Japanese. Should be pretty easy. It's stuff that we just covered, nothing new or anything like that. So just testing your memory, and as always, put your results in the comments, right? Challenge one another. Let's keep building a language learning community because I think that's really cool. And I think you're all really cool, and I think you're great, and your Puppy-Sensei loves you. Okay, first question. Good morning, Puppy-Sensei. Good morning, Puppy-Sensei. How are you going to say that in Japanese? In this case, you can just use Puppy-Sensei for the Japanese. So in Japanese, you're just going to say Puppy-Sensei, and that's fine. How are you going to say this phrase? Ohayou gozaimasu, Puppy-Sensei. Or you could say Puppy-Sensei, Ohayou gozaimasu. Either one of those is fine. Ohayou gozaimasu, Puppy-Sensei, or Puppy-Sensei, Ohayou gozaimasu. You can put the Puppy-Sensei part wherever you want in this phrase. Okay, next one. How are you? Should be easy, right? We just did this today. How would you ask, how are you in Japanese? O genki desu ka? O genki desu ka? Now, remember that o part, that's honorific. So you're using that for other people. You're asking o genki desu ka? And then the reply, if someone asked that to you, somebody said to you, o genki desu ka? Your response should be genki desu, assuming that you're feeling, genki. But you won't use that o for yourself because that sounds really arrogant. All right. Good night. How would you say good night in Japanese? Oyasumi nasai. Oyasumi nasai. Or like in casual situations, you could just say oyasumi. Or like if you're really, really tired, you could be like oyasumi nasai. Oyasumi nasai. Something like that, right? Okay. How about excuse me? How are you going to say excuse me in Japanese? Remember, this is one of the ones that has a ton of meanings in English, but the usage in Japanese, I think we'll just use one phrase that we learned today. Sumimasen. Sumimasen. Remember, that's that word that we learned that I kind of gave you 4 meanings. You can use it like a real apology, or like I have inconvenienced you, or I'm out of here, or hey, I'm over here, right? And so it's interesting that way because you kind of use it as like I'm sorry, and kind of like thank you, and kind of like hi, and kind of like I'm leaving. So a lot of its meanings kind of contrast with one another, and you'd be surprised that it's all in one word. But yeah. How about this one? In English, I would appreciate it. We covered this today, but I just covered it very quickly. So hopefully you remember. I would appreciate it. You would say, arigatai desu. Arigatai desu. This is interesting because it has a tai in the middle there, arigatai. And tai is an ending for verbs that you can add to a verb to say, I want to do that thing, right? So, arigatai desu. I want to feel happy if you do this. I'm going to be thankful if you do this. We'll talk more about that grammar point later. I'm not going to fill your head with it at the moment, but I think it's really interesting. So, arigatai desu. I would appreciate it. All right. How about this one? See you later. See you later. If you've been watching my videos, then you already know this. Mata ne. Wait, no, that I didn't mean I'm ending the video. This isn't the end yet. But yeah, mata ne means see you later. Yeah? Okay. Okay, well, I really hope that today's lesson on Aisatsu, greetings, has helped you quite a lot. This was the first Tango lesson, or vocabulary. And of course, I'm going to do more of these in the future. We have so much vocabulary to cover, of course. But next video will be a little different. I'm actually not going to preview it this time. I want it to be a bit of a surprise. But I do have a little bit of an announcement, just a tiny little announcement that I just want to say because I'm kind of proud of myself. I have now passed 50 followers on Twitch, which means I'm now eligible to become a Twitch affiliate. And I think that's awesome. And I'm just so excited by what I'm doing and the community that we're building together. I'm so thankful for all of you. I think that you are amazing, and I'm humbled that I get to be your Puppy-Sensei and not only help you as you learn this language, because I know some of you are coming here specifically for the Japanese, but I also get to stream games for you, and I think that's really fun, and I really enjoy doing it. So I hope you enjoy watching me stumble around when I'm streaming games too. So we'll keep doing this, and I think we're just gonna move onward and upward and keep doing really cool things. I can't wait until I can start having more in-depth Japanese conversations with some of you, because I know you're listening to these videos and your Japanese is getting better and better, and that just really excites me. It just makes me so happy. You all make me really happy. Also, I just also want to say, now that I'm thinking about it, I support you. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're watching this video, I want you to know that when I say lead with love at the end of all of my videos, what I mean is, like, I love you. And that's the first thing that I want to think and feel about anybody who comes to my channel, or just anybody that I meet. I love you and I support you. And wherever you are in life, if you are struggling, then I want to be able to support you, and I want you to feel happy and welcomed and appreciated, because whoever you are, you deserve to feel appreciated and you deserve to be celebrated a little bit. You're great students, and I am happy to have you in my life. So just know that I accept you as you are, no matter what, right? Unless you're like a terrible person. Please don't be a terrible person. I do not accept you if you're like some stupid jerk. But, if you're feeling weathered and you're feeling beaten down by this world, you have a Puppy-Sensei who cares about you and wants to hold you up and support you and help you feel better about life. And I hope I do. That's my sincere hope. I want to teach and I want to make you feel welcome and good about yourself because you're awesome. So let's keep being awesome together. I'm going to see you soon. Lead with love. Mata ne.